All right, time to get down to the Mr. GLOAT podcast, ladies and gentlemen. Well, to be honest, guys, I really don't know what to say about this because, guys, the month of July, don't get me wrong, guys, the month of July has become crazy, and for good things and for controversial things and sad things. I really don't know what to say about it. And guys, as I'm recording this, July the 26th, well, it was something. I just don't know what to say about it. Because it was almost like I was watching a whole different show. Because, guys, for the last week, ladies and gentlemen, since July the 21st, and then a few days later, after Ozzy Osbourne passed away, Hulk Hogan would pass away as well, and which was also a fun fact, on the same day, Tori Wilson was also born on July the 24th, and she just turned 50 years old a few days ago. So, yeah, same day when Hulk Hogan passed away. Yeah, but to be honest, guys, the real story of me being here, ladies and gentlemen, and to be honest, guys, I'm actually doing another episode I'm going to record as well, also tomorrow on Monday. And then, of course, guys, I will do other bonus podcast on 31st on Thursday, talking about the entire month of July. So I'm not going to make this episode long, just maybe like 30 or 40 minutes. So I'm just going to whiz by this podcast quickly, because I think it's probably for the best to just upload this on YouTube and just say it for what I think about it, because it's just crazy. So the pay-per-view match on July the 27th in Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan, for the main event of Claressa Shields versus Lani Daniels. What can I say about this? Well, guys, with with 11 professional fights on schedule that day, and of course only 9 of them have been verified. 2 of them are still not updated yet for who won the match. Leon Lawson III versus Ryan Wilczak in middleweight. Sardius Simmons versus Demetrius Banks. Those fights are still unknown as I'm making this video, so who knows. But we have had some interesting fights, such as Jack Kwan McElroy winning his 3rd professional fight against Joshua Flores. He picks up his 3rd win. Kamel Mackled, his 3rd professional fight, wins by 3rd round TKO in a 4-round fight against debut fighter Devario Hosser in a light heavyweight fight. Unfortunately, guys, those fights were never live on television at the time, which stinks because the entire card and the show had 0 knockouts in the fight. Only one fight that did score a knockout in the fight was a semi-main event, the second last match before the main event. And that fight is going to be a little bit interesting for me to talk about, because I don't want to get through it too much, so I'm just going to whiz by as quick as I can. But yeah, it's just crazy. So I've already don't want to talk about the fight card as much, other than there's no knockout. The fights did not end in knockout except one, and that fight I just talked about a minute ago was never on TV. So, but these other fights, like Cameron Pankey winning his 12th fight out of 13 in a 6-round fight against Dominic Griffin, and an 8-round fight against undefeated 12-0 Davella Smith versus Martez McGregor, a journeyman fighter in the super middleweight, Well, Deval gets his 13th win by an 8-round points decision, and Bryce Taylor in the heavyweight division. Okay. So the third and last fight in the card, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, just to put it kindly, so the Bryce Taylor versus Robert Sims fight, I'm just going to whiz by this one as quickly as possible because the fight stinked. And I'm going to tell you why. So consider this was the third and last fight on the show. Robert Sims has had his own problems. Like his fourth professional fight in 2016, he took on Craig Lewis, a guy that had 11 wins and 1 draw and 1 no contest at the time. And Robert just almost had him. They lost by round 6 of split decision. And Craig Lewis at the time couldn't catch a break in the boxing business after that win because he lost against Demetrius Banks, the guy that I just talked about he fought against. We don't know the update yet. He was 8-0 at the time back in 2017 when Craig Lewis lost his first fight. And then Lewis lost another fight against Junior Fa. And then he went on to lose fighter against Jermaine Franklin, Carlos Tacom, and of course, Zhili Zhang in 2021. Awesome. And also fighters like Ronnie Hines, Jeremiah Milton, and Ivan Daichko. Yeah, the guy just couldn't get a break no matter how he tried, and just wasn't good enough. Sims lost against another fighter by round 6 of split decision against Alexei Zubov, a 15-1 fighter in 2017. So even though his first losses were bad, at least he was close. Even George Arias in 2019 was another fight he had in 8 rounds that ended in majority decision. So it wasn't bad. Not that bad. He did went on to defeat a guy named Demetrius Banks. Can't say much about this guy. Man, this Demetrius Banks guy is everywhere. It's just funny. It's funny. And then, of course, Robert Sims did defeat one guy that was his biggest win. It was James Mackenzie Morrison, which you might not know who he is. He is actually the son of one of the few sons of the one and only Tommy Morrison. And guys, remember the fight that Moses Atama defeated a guy by round 2 TKO? You know, the fight he just fought a couple months ago, and he scored that amazing knockout? Well, that guy that lost his second fight, which I have heard about him before, because I would have never heard about him if he took on another member of the Morrison family. Seriously. Mike Balogun, the guy that lost against Moses Atama in May 2 months ago, defeated the one and only Trey Lippe in 2021 by first round knockout. And Trey Lippe is also the son of Tommy Morrison. He was 18-0 when he lost against Mike Balogun. And of course, a few fights later, the next year, Mike lost against Murat Gassiv and then Moses Atama. And then James Mackenzie Morrison, well, a year later, after his brother lost, his 20 wins and 2 draws went down the toilet. And it was even bad because Mackenzie picked up an unbelievable win against the one and only Hasim Rotman Jr., the Hasim Rotman that was the last guy to defeat Lennox Lewis. And then 6 months later, he lost against Robert Sims. So it just goes to show you guys, there's more stories to talk about other fighters and their path. That's what makes boxing so interesting for me to watch, because you get to click on other boxers' names on BoxRec and you realize, oh my gosh, these are part of the family. Unbelievable. So it just goes to show you guys that brain mindset, you get to learn new things about other boxers that you might not know about. And when you look them up, they're like, that's the son of Tommy Morrison. Oh my God, his brother also lost a year ago. He lost against this guy that was a nobody. Wait, that guy just lost against the guy that got his ass knocked out 2 months ago by Moses Atama. Go figure. So it just goes to show you what you know about before you know the fighters. And it does piss me off people didn't know who Mike Bulligan is. I know who he was because he killed Tommy Morrison's son. Well, he didn't, no, literally, just a figure of speech, not kill him. Like he killed, what I meant to say about that, I meant he said he destroyed Morrison's son's career is what I meant to say. Not killed his career, just, well, you get what I mean. He destroyed his career. And of course, a year later, he lost against Brandon Moore, and then he took on Price Taylor almost 2 years after his last fight. And Price Taylor, well, what do I have to say about his career? I'm sorry for talking too much, but just goes to show you how fun it is to talk about other stuff. Well, his career isn't that bad in 2023 in December. He picks up a win. And then by 2024, from January, March, May, and December, he picks up a few more wins, a couple decisions here or there. And there weren't a lot of great fighters, but yet again, it's not common to take on your first. And guys, I'm not saying that it's bad to take on nobody or truck drivers or dairy overgrown men that are 7-Eleven workers like that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's not common to box at that type. Like, it's okay to box almost 10 professional fights or a bunch of nobodies in your first 2 years as pro. So I will give him the benefit of the doubt for this. And by the month of February and March and June, he already picked up 3 more wins. He took on Ed Fountain. That's actually a journeyman fighter last June, so not bad. And this fight against Robert Sims was kind of his first big push, which I'll give him credit. And to be honest, guys, what do I have to say about the 8-round fight? Nothing good. Because the reason I say that is he picks up a lot of interesting problems because Price Taylor, his own entire strategy in that 8 rounds of fight, he doesn't go for the attack. He's not doing nothing. He's doing nothing but showboating. His last 4 wins from December to June were knockouts from the 3rd, 2nd, 1st, and 4th round. And all he does in this fight, every time he attacks Robert, throws a perfect punch and bumps him back, he just starts like showboating to the crowd or showing off. And not even knowing if Robert is about to attack him. He goes for a punch, boom, he turns, woo! And then he continues. And so he was more of a show-off type person. And the problem is, guys, Price Taylor, the lightest he's ever been in his boxing career was being at 260.5 pounds. And that was his debut in December of 2023. The heaviest in his entire career was weighing 281 pounds in June, almost 2 months ago, during his last other win. So, and now he's 278.25. So I really can't say that he might be a big boxer. Wait, too big, if that makes sense. So he does actually pose a little bit of a threat to me. Like, he is a tough fighter, but is he that good to learn? Because I do love his character of being a show-off, but yet again, I do wish he can just take it a little bit lightly there. It was a good 8-round fight. He did try to entertain the crowd. I'll give him credit, but when you take on a more experienced boxer, you do got to understand that. Don't get me wrong, even though Zhou Zhang was having fun dancing around at some point when he was hurting Joe Joyce in his 2 fights and so, and how he was having a good time. And I'm sure he was doing okay when he was taking on Joseph Parker. It just, Parker was too much for him, even though he scored 2 knockouts. So I can't say much about that. Guys, we could talk about the 2 female fights of Samantha Warrington getting a majority win against Victoria Pitia and Caroline Veyer versus Lucia Bodersa for the WBC silver featherweight title in a 10-round decision. Yet again, I can't know much about those females other than Samantha Warrington. She's 12-0, great for getting a Mark Gastineau record. She's number 4 in the super lightweight, and great to pick up another win here, but I just hope she can take on better competition, but I just don't see her to be in that dangerous contender of being a champion, but she's number 4, so who knows when it's her chance. She's in the right promotion, right with Claressa Shields, but we'll just have to wait and see. By the way, guys, before we get to the second last match, which will shock you, It's crazy because before the semi-main event of Tony Harrison versus Edward Ulloa Diaz, they brought a kid in wearing a dress and such, but not like a red clothes and such, and him talking about this or that, or don't give up your dreams, this or that, and he's talking, and he talks, and I loved it, but when he gets on to talking on the mic, someone gives him another mic as he starts singing and rapping. And I did say on stream, I'm not going to tell who the YouTuber is because I don't want to question him for his streaming. But I love that there were some fans in the audience just looking up and just not caring what the hell the kid's saying. The kid is in the middle of the ring. And people on stream, I was at the time on chat, were just saying, man, this kid sucks, or what's going on, and this or that, blah, blah. And I'm just saying, he's just a kid. Guys, why does the internet have to be so mean to a kid that's singing and talking and trying to motivate us? Over 20 to 30,000 people live at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, Michigan, and people live on stream are saying rude things about to this kid that's almost 10 years old. I don't understand. And he was doing a good inspiration, like he was a kid, and yes, there are people in the audience that really didn't care, and they're just looking up and just minding their own business. But yet again, you gotta respect them. Like, I don't know why people online have to be that rude to a kid. I just don't understand. All right. Tony Harrison versus Edward Diaz. And I'll say, though, guys, Edward Diaz, 15-6. He put in an interesting performance that night. And even though he didn't pick up a lot of great success in his career, even though he picked up a lot of wins after 2013 to the middle of 2016, but when he took on his first legit fighter, Alberto Puello, in September 2016, the guy that would later lose against Sabril Matias 2 weeks ago for the WBC World Super Lightweight title, which is funny. Edward Diaz just couldn't do nothing much because by 2017 he takes a full year off and takes on a guy with 19-2 with his last loss, and he gets beaten up again by knockout twice. He takes on a guy in his debut almost 4 years out of the ring in August of 2021 named Juan Juska. And that guy in his debut wins his first fight, but sadly, 2 fights later, he takes on the guy with 8-0 in his third fight. And I don't think he was ready. He wasn't ready. Which is funny because Juan Juska, even though he lost that fight in 6 rounds, he did knock out the opponent in round 3, even though he lost. But the damage was done because he took on other undefeated fighters and they gave him the worst beating ever. And yeah, I don't know why they pushed that fighter too close to the edge, but it wasn't smart. And of course, Edward Diaz would later lose against guys like Roberto Garcia in 2022. And when I say Roberto Garcia, when I do say Roberto Garcia, there's a lot of different type of Garcias out there. And it's not the Garcia that took on Mayweather or the guy that got knocked out by the knockout of the year against a guy in 2000 in the 10th round. There's so many Garcias out there. I don't know if Danny Garcia or Ryan Garcia or even Mikey Garcia, I don't know what Garcias out there are related to each other or who are siblings. That's what makes boxing confusing. The Roberto Garcia I'm talking about is the guy that got beat by Antonio Margarito for the WBC International Super Welterweight title in 2010, if that makes sense. And then lost against technically any other fight, it doesn't matter. So, of course, he lost against that Garcia, Jimmy Kirain Kelly, I have heard of, and Jonathan Gonzalez-Ortiz in 2024 last year, only to fight this guy. And the guy's already at 5 knockout losses out of 6 losses in his career. So this was going to be an interesting win. And people on commentary are like, oh, man, we might get our first knockout win here. Not really. We wouldn't. On TV, no. In the arena that night, only 1, but that was it. Except the Leon Lawson 3 and Sardia Simmons, those 2 other fights, we don't know. They're not posted yet, so who knows if those ended in knockouts? Maybe. But yeah, Tony Harrison, on the other hand, is a guy that has been out of the ring for over 2 years, and his career has been off the deep end. And it's weird that people on commentary are like, man, this guy is known for getting his butt beaten in round 9 by knockout and loses. He lost against Willie Nelson 2015 by round 9 TKO. He gets beat up by Jarrett Hurd for the IBF World Super Welterweight in 2017 by round 9 knockout. And then he gets beaten up by Jermell the Iron Man Charlo, but of course, round 11 knockout, nothing bad for round 9. Loses against Tim Tsuyu 2 years later by the WBO interim champion by round 9. And by the way, his loss against Jermell Iron Man Charlo was his second pro fight because he defeated Charlo in 2018 to win the WBC World Super Welterweight, only to lose in a rematch against Iron Man Charlo a year later. So keep that in mind. So people are questioning that a lot. And I'll be honest, guys, the first rounds of the fight were decent. Tony Harrison is putting in a good work. Diaz, his reach advantage is not there. And even though the first round was decently close for whoever you thought won the fight, and it looked like Edward put in something there. Tony Harrison went on and tried to box his way through rounds after rounds as best he could. The thing was, he was throwing great power punches from round 2 and 3 and 4 from after 6 or so rounds. He was putting in good work, winning a good amount of good rounds in that fight. And then suddenly in round 7, almost became the end of Tony Harrison's career, where we were like 30 or so seconds into the round. He goes to the middle, jabs, and then he stumbled and tripped and fell to the canvas. And the referee realized that the area was wet. So someone gave the referee a towel. He wiped it all off. And this is the moment when the last 4 rounds became a lot more crazy. Now, guys, I wasn't really judging the fight or so at the time because I was caring about the main event. But they come around, and before you know it, after that round ended, we come to round 8, and it seemed like things were changing. Because even though Harrison was getting a lot of jabs, Edward was putting in good work on Harrison. But I wasn't really expecting nothing much to happen. And then in round 9, out of nowhere, Tony is winning the round cleanly. He's getting stuff done. And then out of nowhere, during the final seconds of the round, he comes in. And it's a 10-round fight, by the way. He comes in. They're jabbing close to each other. And Edward comes out, misses out a punch, and sets up another second punch right upstairs, hitting Tony. Punches, and again, he falls to the canvas. Edward jumps, and it almost looked like he was going to squish his balls. And then he hits the canvas as well. I don't know what Edward Diaz was doing because he jumped, and I actually saw some of the replay angles, and I was like, was he about to step on Tony Harrison's balls? But for some reason, he misses and then dives away and hits the canvas, which is ridiculous. Nothing bad happened. Tony gets back up, and at this moment, he recovers. And by the way, guys, I actually love about the whole ridiculousness because they have a female interviewer out there telling Tony Harrison, because as the round was over before the final round, she also told the reporters about what Tony Harrison's team are thinking about Harrison's bad luck in the 9th round, and they just say no comment. They talk about it was just a fluke knockout, which, yeah, but it's still connected. And then in that final round, Diaz attacks Harrison and putting everything into him. That 10th and final round was so close enough, I kind of gave it to Diaz for the heck of it. I had it scored 96-93, and both of those guys were beating each other up in the final round that anyone would have won that round for the heck of it. Surprisingly, one judge had it 96-93, one had it 97-92, and one had it 98-91. And that 98-91 was just the one round for round 9. So I did question that because I don't see Harrison winning every single round, even before and after the knockout in round 9. So Harrison survived, he recovers, but yet again, ranked 64 in the middleweight, good, 34 years old. He's back in for 14 years in boxing, but yet again, the damage to this fight has been done, so can't talk much about that. It is what it is, but I didn't really like much about it other than it was a tough fight. first knockout of the show, but it wasn't a win knockout. It was just a knockdown, and that was it. So now we get to the main event, ladies and gentlemen. Claressa Shields versus Lani Daniels. And man, oh man, wow, we're at the 25-minute mark. I'm so happy about myself. So guys, I wrote down a lot of words on my information here. And to be honest, I really can't describe what I feel about this fight because, to tell you guys the truth, this fight, guys, I was thinking to myself that if Claressa Shields does win this fight by knockout, like, Layla Ali should just not fight at all. And some reason, yeah. And guys, the ring walks, screw the ring walks and such. And I do love that they actually had the woman not singing the national anthem, but singing some other song before another little boy came in and singing the national anthem. She was the woman that was impersonating Claressa Shields in the movie that came out last year ago. So it was great for her to be in the ring at the time singing a song and everything else. But this fight was ridiculous. So Lani Daniels' career is she's going to dance around in the first few rounds of the fight. And by round 8 or round 9 or 10, she's going to go for the attack and hurt out Shields. Here's the problem. Lani Daniels has 11 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws, and her 1 win out of 11 is by knockout, 2 draws. And that knockout was back in August of 2023 against a 3-0-2 fighter. But yet again, the fight itself, the problem was there wasn't much to it. It was nothing more than just a stoppage, not a knockout. So it just didn't really work out that way. Claressa Shields, 16 with 3 knockouts. I can't say much about her neither. So this is what I wrote. And this is the only time I ever wrote notes in this show. So round 1. Lani Daniels is dancing around the entire ring, going from clockwise to counterclockwise and sometimes the opposite. But we first, after like 30 or so seconds, Shields does throw her first ever punch in the fight, throwing a Deontay Wilder looping right, misses, but the crowd goes, woo! But gets clean left jabs in the fight, and then she gets cocky and attacks her with 15 seconds left of the round, where Shields is throwing haymakers until the bell rings for Daniels, after Daniel is getting attacked hard. So Shields gets round 1. And keep this in mind, guys, there's so many haymakers for Shields. Like, I don't know what Lani Daniels' strategy was. And it makes me wonder, how rigged was this fight? Because we go to round 2, and again, Lani is not throwing a lot of punches. Shields is running Lani Daniels down, and then at 1 minute and 10 seconds, some of the crowd boos for how boring Lani Daniels is making this fight boring after all. And then Shields throws more haymakers, and Lani is not even trying to win the first rounds. The round ends with Shields letting go all her punches on attacking Lani in the corner with 10 seconds to go. Another round for Shields. We go to round 3. Lani is still running counterclockwise in the circle, completing it after Fire's 10 seconds of the round. Both clinching, Claressa landing jabs, and then Shields throws multiple jabs at one point to push Lani to the ropes. With 40 seconds left, Shields attacks Lani to the ropes, and then Lani puts her to the ropes, also landing a left punch, which was probably a good punch for Lani, but again, she doesn't throw anything as much as she should. The round ends with Shields throwing more barrage of haymakers until the bell rings. And I don't say haymakers as much, but that's the only thing I can say about this. We go to round 4. Shields is going to the body. And again, Lani is not even going for a jab. Not even, like, maybe one jab, but that's about it. Shields is throwing every single punch she has. At one moment, the referee warns Lani to keep her head up because she keeps moving down for some reason. Again, as other fights this month, Lani does get a punch upstairs, but the round ends with Lani trying to trap Shields only to get, and when I say she tries to trap Shields, she tries to trap her to a corner or to a ring, near the ropes, only to get hit too many times by punches from Shields. After winning 4 rounds of the fight, at this moment, I'm like, for each round is ending too quickly, because don't get me wrong, guys, this fight is not boring. I was really entertained by the fight because I was waiting for a knockout win here. I was really entertained by the fight because the fight was going by too fast. Every 2 minutes of the fight was going so fast and quickly, just like that. It seemed like I was watching 20 minutes of a fight. And it was easy. And even though with this, because Shields is just dominating every single 2 minutes of each round, and Lani is not even doing nothing to win the round in the first place. I don't know why she's not doing that. I don't know why. But then in round 5, Lani is now fighting right now with commentators saying she's trying to survive the early rounds, but Shields is still landing jabs and power punches. They do clinch to the ropes with Lani holding Shields to the ropes, but fails, only for Shields attacking her with dangerous combinations as the bell rings. We go to round 6. Shields now attacks Lani, and Lani is more in trouble. Like, her idea of winning the fight is like going to the 9th round by KO, which the commentators are pointing that out, which that's what Lani told. But Shields is she's just doing the better job than anyone else in this entire show. Her energy is still there. Like, Lani finally throws punches with Shields, but not more or clean than Shields. Like, Shields gets clean straight rights. And by the 7th round, both girls are fighting during the start of the bell, and Lani is done running and attacks. Every time the round starts, she runs and then stops and then goes to the ring. And so at this moment, like, she goes to the ropes and pushes her to the corner. And the interviewer of the female goes to Lani's corner saying they are not happy with Daniels' performance, which I don't blame them, because what's her idea of her coaches doing dumb stuff if they're not going to tell her to stop running? Like, Shields lands a dangerous punch and Lani is in trouble. With 40 seconds left, the crowd are cheering Shields' name as the round ends. Both girls land punches to each other, but the left hook and a 2-punch left-right heavy punch by Shields, it was close, but Shields was better, even though round 7 was a pretty decent round for both. But it seemed like Shields managed to win that round just about until the 7th round. And if you could say that Lani might have won that round, maybe. She would have won any of the last 4 rounds. Just saying. Well, not really the 10th round, because in round 8, it just gets ridiculous. Because the round goes slow, with Shields standing like she's a statue in the ring in one of the corners where Lani goes near her, and Shields is just standing there like a statue, and Lani just waiting for the movement for the for 30 seconds. It was like the round 8 was a boring round. And Lani is not attacking. Keep this in mind, there is moments that Lani is moving and Shields is just standing still. Even in the first rounds of the fight, she was standing still. So this was common for Shields in this fight. And then sets off with hooks and jabs. And at this moment, I'm thinking to myself, how is Lani not getting knocked down? How is she surviving? And I'm like, man, Shields is not a knockout person. And I'm even still thinking about Mizuki Hiruta, the female that played that arcade game with a friend of hers, or of him, when they were playing that punching thing. And Mizuki Hiruta just couldn't get any power into it, but the guy could. Yeah, makes sense. Maybe men are stronger than women. I don't know why women can't score knockouts as much in boxing. Don't blame that. I'm just saying, I don't know how and why we would ask Laila Ali to fight a woman that can't do knockouts. And yet again, it's just so bad. Because this round was not that entertaining. The round ends with both girls throwing multiple punches at the end. And again, it was a better round for Shields. Like, nothing much happens. Shields managed to win this one more easily. And even though Lani is landing bigger shots on her own, it wasn't good enough. And then we go to round 9. Lani is putting Shields to the ropes. And Shields doesn't mind. She's not scared a lot when she's getting pushed to the ropes, just like Daniel Perkins' fight. Lani goes to the corner on Shields, but still not doing anything to throw punches. Shields is just dominating the round. Even after 1 minute 15 seconds of getting pushing through the ropes by Lani, they finally take the clinch and get out of the way. But of course, Shields' size is too much for Lani. The last 15 or so seconds, Shields is going for left hook until Lani pushes her back to the ropes again during the final seconds of the round. So, yeah, that round was just Lani doing nothing. And then the 10th and final round, nothing much. Lani pushes Claressa to the ropes again, tries to punch. Lani not following her fight plans for why. Shields is still getting cornered, but she's still doing the better of this round. Lani attacks, and Shields again, a big left hand upstairs, and 30 seconds weren't much for anything. The last 30 seconds weren't much. And there were times that Shields was going for body punches, but not even Shields even didn't try to go for a knockout. But yet again, nothing much. After 10 rounds, I had it 190. One judge had it as well, but 2 others had 99-91. And Shields was a winner. And it's bad because they didn't have time to have Lani run to the referee to put up her hand to announce the winner until she was there. 2 seconds later, they announced the winner, Shields. So, yeah, they were already ordering the judge's decision by the announcer before Lani got to the ref to say who won the fight. Guys, it's so bad to see this and the performances. And by the way, Claressa went on to the mic and said this was her last time she would be with Dimitri Salita Promotions, as she would be a free agent because of this. So, yeah, can't say much about it. And even the commentators pointed out that maybe she should go back to weight because there's not a lot of competition in the division of heavyweights. But yet again, she did what she did to make boxing into the top ranks of heavyweight, and that's what she did. So, yeah. So what do I have to say about this entire show? Nothing. My final thought about this is that even though the PBA and PWBA striking against breast cancer mixed doubles is already happening today in Houston, Texas. So, see what that happens. But the rest of the other entire stuff in the month of July, I really don't know what to say because I'm really upset that this fight did not go as well as expected. Claressa Shields is just not a knockout fighter. Not a lot of females are, don't get me wrong, even though Amanda Serrano has a lot of knockouts in her careers and 31 out of 47 wins. But a lot of those knockout wins were not against the top competitors that we know she won against. But yet again, she won champions by knockout. But there's not a lot of females out there that you can say they are knockout fighters. And you have Mizuki Hiruda that can't even handle going for knockout wins. Even when people say she was a power puncher, she can't power punch harder than men. And it makes you wonder, women just seem like if women are trying to make the power punches that big, because guys, remember the video that Claressa Shields got knocked out by a grown person that only threw no more than 25% of his power on Shields and she still went down? Claressa Shields' 100% power punches is the same exact power punch the guy that brought Claressa Shields down in a club ring at the time when Shields was announcing to fight men. And that guy only threw no more than 25% of the punch and Shields went down. So Claressa Shields' 100% power punch is the same exact percentage as a guy throwing to knock someone out, which means the odds of Shields getting a power punch to knock someone out the way that guy knocked her out is 1 in a million to get that punch landed perfect to knock someone down. And even so, what are the odds of you doing that again? So I don't know. If there's a reason why women's boxing can't get that big, for reasons you can't say they can't do a lot of knockout punches, then I really don't know what to say about this. At the end of the day, I think we should just let this go. We're already a few days away from the month of July, and tomorrow I am going to do another podcast and another one Thursday for the final day of July. So we'll just have to wait and see. But thank you, viewers, for watching this episode. And with that being said, Foxwolf out.